sell. Nonetheless, the reason that the building is being taken down and it's not really considered a completely new building because there are a couple of walls that are being retained, because that's the crazy way that the zoning administrator recommends that they proceed here. So some folks had asked, why are they tearing the building down? And isn't it really a new building? Well, yes and no. So for those of you that may be scratching your heads, welcome to the club. Nonetheless, it's been properly moved in and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. That's 7-0-0. And the motion was made by Commissioner Chapel and it was seconded by myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're now moving on to the last of our zoning cases, and this representation, this is 1212 to 1216 4th Street Northwest.
Good evening, my name is Jackie Aikmel. I'm with the law firm of Griffin, Murphy, Moldham, Power, and Wiggins, and I am here as land use counsel. With me tonight is Ron Schneck, who already introduced himself, who is the architect, and the owner of the property is also here in the audience, Dr. Bakai. The property address is 1212 through 1218 4th Street. And we are here to obtain ANC 60's support for the redevelopment of this property. And before Ron goes into the details, I just want to say that this design that he is about to present reflects about 9 months of community outreach and at least 3 single-member district meetings. We have changed the design a lot. When we originally went to the community, we were requesting 27 units with 9 parking spaces. Now the design is 22 units with 31 parking spaces and a neighborhood servicing retail space. In order to do this, we are requesting relief from the Board of Zoning Adjustment for lot occupancy, lot area, and a change to a non-conforming use, or as we were just recently informed by OP, perhaps a use variance like Shaw Bijou. There's some issue about whether or not the office use that used to be there. We still haven't fleshed that out, but we would ask the ANC support regardless of whether it's a special exception or use variance. And so just to go through the design and the many changes that have occurred over the past 9 months, I'll let Ron talk.
Again, my name is Ron Schneck, and I'm with Square 134 Architects. What I'm going to do is walk you, just to sort of be clear, this is for zoning only. We will need to come back for the historic portion to this. So although I'm going to talk sort of a little bit about the design of the project, we'll more hear about sort of the concept and the massing in terms of architectural details, materials, and things like that. We'll have a chance to review with you again when we go through the historic process. But just to sort of orient you a little bit to the site, this is 4th Street, and there's actually 2 existing buildings here. One was built as an apartment building, the other one was a sort of a shop with a residential above, and both of them are contributing in the historic neighborhood. And so from an architectural perspective, from a massing perspective, what we're trying to do is sort of show deference to these buildings. And so what that means from a floor massing perspective is that sort of, and these are a little hard to see, I apologize, is this is the existing building.
Your board,
Yeah, sorry. So this is the existing mass, and then what we're doing is our addition is sort of behind that, and then also here on 4th Street down to Ridge, we have a mass here. I'll sort of quickly show you, again, don't want to get too much into sort of the architectural details, but this is the existing building, and this is the proposed mass of most of the building, and then again there is some also behind here that you can't see. And just sort of real quickly, as Jackie mentioned, we've spent a lot of time going through and talking to the community. I'm going to quickly highlight some of the sort of changes that we've made based on feedback, and then I can answer any sort of questions about sort of the design, and Jackie can answer any questions from a zoning perspective. One of the issues is originally we had a taller mass here. This is an interesting street relationship with one. So there's 4th Street here, and then there's Ridge here. And from a historic perspective, this was always sort of a larger scaled street. and then Ridge, as you know, sort of steps down in scale. And so what we originally had was a slightly larger mass that was more sort of representative of what you're going to experience on 4th Street. It was a little too much for people, so we've sort of set that down a little bit as you work your way on Ridge. And then what we also did in addition was, from a massing perspective, is just create more smaller scaled facades that relate more to the smaller scale along Ridge. The other thing that we did based on community input was provide a retail space. And this is one of the areas of relief, I believe, that we're asking for. And it's a small retail space. It's probably no more than 1,000 square feet. But it was something that we thought would be nice to have here, and coffee shop, flower shop, something like that. And so, sort of real quick to go over sort of the unit count and what we did to address some of the neighbors' concerns. The big thing is we originally had 26 units, and what we've done is we've reduced the unit count to 22. And just to sort of, this is the parking in the first floor. The number of units, it's always it's always tricky as to sort of how to determine the breakout. But one of the things that we also heard was that, we don't want to have a lot of sort of students here, not necessarily students, but smaller units, that there's more of a desire to have larger units. So we did increase we added some 3 bedrooms and added some 2 bedrooms, and then we only have 4 studio units. Another concern was parking. And originally we were providing just basically surface parking, which is compliant for zoning, but we understand and we've experienced that in this neighborhood parking is a real issue. So what we're proposing now is a full level of below grade parking. And the purpose of that obviously is to park the proposed building, but also to provide, and I'll let Adaki sort of address a little bit more details about this, but to provide some additional parking for the neighborhood, whether the neighbors can rent the spaces or sell the spaces, or buy the spaces, I think we're still working that out. But those are sort of the big things that we tried to do to sort of address some of the neighbors' concerns. Is there anything else maybe you want to, are you aware of any other, and am I missing any big points?
You'll address the RPP issue. Yes,
We,
because that's also another
yes.
point.
We, one of the other requests of the community is that we agree to an RPP restriction. So we are not requesting a parking variance, but this particular block, and I do have zoning maps just to show everyone that this square doesn't have an alley, and the square across the street doesn't have an alley. So parking is a really, really big concern. So they requested an RPP restriction, which we agreed to, and we also increased the parking. And we presented to the zoning committee last week, and they supported the project. And one of the requests from the committee was that we talk about or come up with a calculation. I think that was a formula.
And I think what I mentioned is that there's 31 spots, but there's a potential then to sell back to some of the spots to
Yes.
the reserve.
So, yes, so there were originally 26 units, but now we're down to 22 units, but we're providing 31 parking spaces, so that's a surplus of parking spaces, even if, and it's unlikely, but even if every unit purchased a spot with their condo. The excess parking spaces we would like to offer to the immediate vicinity, because those are the neighbors that would be most directly impacted by the development. And the formula is X plus 15%. So typically, when you are a developer and you're selling a parking space, it is the cost to do the parking space plus 20 to 30%, and sometimes 50% depending on the location and the how efficient the parking garage is, and then the neighborhood. This neighborhood, I'm not a traffic expert, so I can't say what exactly a market rate spot would sell for, but typically it is X plus 20 to 30%. So Dr. Bukai has agreed to do a discount of that. It's about a 15 to 20% discount of what a market rate space would go. And we're still not sure whether they would be for sale or for rent, but that's the sale formula, and if it were for rent, it would be something comparable, where the community would be getting a discount for what a market rate space would be.
So market rate in our little neck of the woods, I mean, give or take thousands of dollars, like we're talking about thousands of dollars, is probably $25,000 to $30,000. So,
For sale, you mean, or
for sale.
For sale.
What's an RDP?
Oh.
Restricted parking.
Residential.
That's the residential parking.
Residential parking.
So the people who bought these couldn't park on the street, so then how would they impact the parking in that area?
They won't.
They won't.
But that was something that we worked with the community with over the course of 9 months. And so I don't know what a market rate space will be in, 2 years, but the formula is X being the cost to do the space plus 15% instead of what is a typical for sale price of X plus 20 to 30%. Okay.
Have you done any work to try to get some type of estimate about what it would cost to build the spaces to get an idea of what X might be?
He has, and because previously this site was a gas and fueling area, we don't know what's underground. So until he digs, everyone's saying it's variable. He's gotten different estimates, but the range is quite large. So the committee asked for a formula. We were comfortable with the formula, but unfortunately, until you get in there, we just really don't know. But we really feel like this project is a reflection of many different things that people wanted from the project, and that it's not going to have an impact on parking, and that he's really tried to go above and beyond to address some of their concerns as far as providing parking, providing a neighborhood servicing retail space. So we're asking for the commission's support for the areas of relief that we're requesting, and we would ask that, since we're not quite sure whether it's going to be a special exception or a use variance, that they would support it in the alternative, like, whether or not it was a special exception or a use variance.
So could you address the inclusionary zoning requirements?
Oh, sorry.
And while you're getting organized, a typical space costs anywhere from $65,000 to $75,000 to construct.
An underground.
Underground parking. So,
Like an entire garage and not an individual.
no,
Per
each
space.
individual
Per
space.
Per
Per
space.
space.
Mhm.
So this development now has 22, so inclusionary zoning, anytime you're going over, well, it used to be 10, well, I think now it's, under the new regs, I think it's lower. But anytime you have 10 or more units, you have to provide inclusionary zoning units, which are affordable housing units. This project, pursuant to the number of gross square footage, has to provide 2 inclusionary zoning units. And I don't know if the plans have marked them.
We don't have, it's basically one student will be providing, and they have to be representative of
The unit mix.
the unit mix, and we're providing,
That's-
oh, it is labeled, so,
Yes.
yeah, one of the 1 bedrooms,
And then 1 studio.
and then,
Oh, I apologize. It's 1 bedroom and 1 2
yeah,
bedroom.
that's what I thought, because it's not, okay, one bedroom and
So
one.
there's no
two-bedroom.
studios?
Not for inclusionary zoning. So the community requested a different unit mix, which is, instead of having so many studios, include more 2 and 3 bedroom units. And IZ has to be reflective of the unit mix. So the affordable housing units will be 1 bedroom and 1 2 bedroom, which is also, really great, because a lot of times they're usually 1 bedrooms. And then you,
To the unknown cost of going underground to build these parking spaces impact the overall plan? If it's, let's say that, there's something toxic under there, and we gotta do some abatement. Could addressing that affect the unit and everything else?
I can quickly answer, we have a phase 1 so far, which is a phase 1 environmental study, and we haven't gone to the phase 2 portion yet, but we don't believe there's anything underneath there. Could it affect it if we start digging and we find something that no one missed? Probably, but you start out doing the phase one and usually they pick up anything, but we're assuming that we can excavate fairly easily.
For example, Martin, at Fifth and I, that when they dug to see what was underneath, they found out that the dirt had to be sent out to be cleaned.
Yeah.
And so that was a major expense that was not included when they started talking about what was going to take for the price of the building. So yeah, there are always some things that can come up.
A quick follow-up. For the part of the old existing building where the new construction is set back, do you plan to activate the roof, given that there's a retail space? You might have a commercial roof deck, terrace.
Yeah, so what we're proposing, and again, not finally designed yet, but basically remote patios, okay? So while we have a corridor here that takes you to your unit, we would provide, these units would get one of these and probably one of these would get a remote patio, meaning you'd claim that you could go out there. From a historic perspective, you can't eat, you don't want to see the patio either, so we would be set back from that. But yes, that's sort of how we're going to activate that a little bit. And based on the code requirements, we would want to do it anyway, and we're going to have to provide a green roof over the building because of the new GAR requirements. Most likely, we'll put a green roof there as well.
Okay, see, I'm a neighbor to this project, and there's been a lot of discussion on our listserv regarding this project. And first, we're really excited that you want to develop this because it's been there for a while and it's fun to see something grow from it. We all want as investors to, an area that's developing and growing. That said, we're excited about the parking as well because there's such a restriction on the parking, especially when you have the street cleaning. It takes you 30 minutes to find a spot. There's also the issue of crime and all these other things that play a role. There's 2 camps in our neighborhood, in this one block or within 200 feet radius. And the camps are the ones that are opposed to high density because this is a residential area. And the reason why they're providing all this parking, which we're very excited about, especially me, is because it's not zoned for it. It is zoned for big, at least 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, like townhouses, family-oriented, that kind of presence. It's residential. And it is allowed for 11 units with 9 parking spots, as you mentioned originally. And the neighbors would love that. There's a camp of the neighbors that would absolutely 100% be only for the 11 units. There's the other camp, which I am part of, that is very excited to have more units because I think it's better to have more eyes on the street, if you will. I think that's good for the neighbors, and I like the parking. That camp, which I'm sorry, is we were promised, or there was statements that we could purchase potentially. And I think purchase is what we would like to see. We are concerned about potential parking commercial activities because the convention center is really close. And when that happens, it is a disaster trying to park. On Sundays, there's tons of churches, and again, very difficult to park. You combine Sundays and a convention center like the DC Auto Show, you can't find parking. But we do not, as a residential neighbors, want commercial parking because that would be a lot of congestion on a one-way street. We want to keep it residential.
I mean, the intent and the discussion has always been to offer the parking, and I don't want to steal one of your zoning maps, but this is the property, and residents within a 200-foot radius would have received notice. This square does not have an alley, and this square also does not have an alley. The intent has always been to offer parking to the immediate neighbors, not to turn this into like a convention center parking garage.
Which is great. We
And-
just want to address that because we could see how it could be profitable because there is so much traffic and the
Yeah.
city has not adequately addressed
Well,
it.
I know I sent Commissioner Nedrow, we have requested a postponement of the case. We were supposed to go before the BZA on the 23rd, but we moved it back 2 weeks in order to allow for us to draft a letter of intent or something that kind of outlined everything that we've discussed over the past 2 months so that it could be included in the pre-hearing statement, which then would be a part of the record. I can't at this moment say whether they'd be for sale or for rent. But we've presented a formula, we've tried to address the community's concern, and Dr. Bakai you can state, and I know, the discussion has always been for really this to be a benefit to those who live in the immediate vicinity. Just like with the neighborhood surfacing retail space, it's quite small. We're not trying to make this a destination, just maybe a small coffee shop or florist or something small.
Which is great, but what I'm saying, because we're foregoing the residential character of our block, which is on a beautiful one-way street, close to the convention center, close to the metro. It's a great location for those who buy there. We are foregoing that in order for us to ensure the parking, which is great, but we also would like to be able to purchase the parking so that because the concern is though those who oppose the higher density, it will depreciate the value of our houses that are currently there. And there's a breakage amongst the neighbors, there's a split, where we believe if we purchase a parking spot, that increases our value, therefore we can allow the higher density. And that is the concern. When you go to rental, there are other places one could rent, but the rental does not necessarily appreciate your value, right, of a residential property. And when you talk about just for that immediate area, what if people do not want to rent from you? Now you have a garage that may be potentially vacant, and then will there be further commercial activity? And that is the concern.
Well, it's just really a cost analysis,
Absolutely, for everybody.
for everyone. But we are investigating the cost of doing a garage. There's still a lot of unknowns. We've presented a formula. We will continue to work with the community. Commissioner Nedrow and Dr. Bakai we all have a great working relationship. But at this very moment, I can't say we will have X number of spaces for sale for this price. All I can say is the unit count has been reduced. We're going to have 22 units instead of 26. We're over parking the site, but we only needed to provide 9. Now we're providing 31. There will be, even if every unit purchases a parking spot, excess parking. The intent, which we will be working with the commissioner to draft a letter of intent, is to provide parking to the immediate neighbors. And we presented a formula as requested by the zoning committee. So at this stage we can't just, as much as we may want to, we can't, I don't want to be bound by something that we won't be able to deliver on.
And I'm just saying, as a neighbor that's been on these listservs, what I'm saying is that is the concern. And having, and I know it was conditioned before the approval on a formula, which is great. And we just had another zoning matter before us where they had a lot of stipulations in writing presented by the attorney. That would be wonderful to see.
And that's what we are going
So
to.
Meredith's role, but she's not here tonight. So.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to work on that. And Dr. Bakai is here.
And until we see those correct stipulations, it may be best to vote on that matter once we see what's available. What we are really deciding, because right now there's a lot of unknowns.
Okay, so
Can
Sarah,
I ask a question? If the parking is going to be sold, is it in perpetuity or is it forever?
Yeah, when you buy it outright.
So if somebody wanted to sell it to a gang,
Yeah, sure.
It is a lot of considerations, and
I
that's
don't know
what.
if anyone would hold themselves out as a gang, would they?
okay, so
what I'm saying is you won't have any, it can be sold to a semi-tractor trailer truck driver. It could be sold to anybody. You won't have any, the people who live there are not gonna have any say in this.
So that's further down the road, but let's.
But she's asking us to approve tonight.
Tonight, because we post.
So let me see. Okay, I've Sarah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm in favor generally. I think I'm similarly in that camp. I don't know these goings on, but it does seem a little bit premature to vote without kind of a letter of intent. But if y'all feel comfortable,
Okay, so
that's fine.
go.
I got a question. Because those numbers were really different, based on our cost estimate, we're talking about more than twice what you quoted as the market rate, which I don't know.
That's what my
How
building
robust the
paid.
market
My
is?
building was
My building, we paid 35,000 to 40,000 per
Is that,
space.
you're.
my building was 30. 30-ish.
At Yale?
Yeah.
Right, okay, and where were you?
I'm
Sorry.
at K.
Okay, yeah, so that's a big change.
And at 555, because they have vaulted parking spaces, they paid extra because they had to make a deal with the city not to charge them for being under the street.
And the
So
price came out
they
to-
paid, I believe, someplace around $65,000 per spot.
Okay, so that's coming close to what we talking about.
Oh, no, it's gonna cost, that's what they paid to buy one. To build it, to put a parking spot in, ranges from $65,000 to $75,000 per spot.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm also concerned about, and maybe I'm speaking more right. The formula of 1.15x seems to create an incentive for cross-subsidization. How do you know what dollar was spent on construction of the building versus construction of the parking lot? Wouldn't it make more sense to peg it to the price that the spots are offered to people who buy the units in the building rather than to this accounting nightmare of figuring out how much it costs to build the garage portion of the building?
Because how reasonable would that be to, I mean, I don't know if anyone would be able to afford that.
So here's my
65,000?
suggestion. Here's my suggestion. Clearly, I'm gonna
Not
make,
available in my building.
But it's 30, 35.
I'm saying, when I'm saying 65, I'm saying that's what it costs to actually physically build it. The construction price is 65,000 per spot. That doesn't mean that the doctor is gonna sell it for that, but that's what the
Well,
cost
actually,
is.
that's the formula.
No, the formula is the cost plus 15%.
Oh.
So it's more.
So
Well,
it's
and Mark,
actually-
I think
So-
what he's saying is how you arrive at that number, they're all kind of.
Yeah, X is a black box to everyone other than the doctor's account.
okay, so here's my suggestion, because clearly, and you're going before BZA on the 8th. Is
Yes.
this correct?
Yes.
Okay, so our next meeting is the 1st. So there's still a lot of us, I'll make the overall broad statement as commissioner that overall there's support of the project due to the concessions of certainly the parking, which is our number one concern in the area. The lower number of units is now 22, the 3 bedrooms, which is great. But I could tell my constituents that certainly the people that came here, there would be a higher comfort level if we would have the letter of intent prior and have Meredith here and all that, and then we could fully vote on it next time before the BCA meeting. And our next meeting is March 1st.
Which is before the March 8th.
Correct.
You pushed it back.
Absolutely.
We did push it back in order to work out the LOI so that we could have it for our pre-hearing statement, which is due 2 weeks before the hearing.
I mean, I'm just saying that would make, I think, many people happy. I think that would make me happy, and it
What
just
would
makes
be
me.
the specific request, because I'm not certain.
Well, you can't, you're not Meredith, so that's the whole thing. So this is where Meredith would come into play. And this is what I heard from my constituents. It would make me feel more comfortable if we had that before. And then you come back that March 1st, and then I don't feel that there'd be unsupport. I mean, not as a vote of not support for you guys, but certainly makes more sense with that letter.
I just wanted to know what the specific request would be. I can't guarantee that Meredith will be here on the 1st either. I'm her associate. I attend these meetings without her all the time, and our client is here. I can speak for our client and our firm, so I can't say that she will be there. I've handled other cases before your commission without her. But if you're asking the doctor to provide a different formula based on community comments, that's
No, we're working to have it, basically to have
A
it fully
written-
discussed, written out, whatever we hammer out, and then we can put it together.
just in writing.
Correct, absolutely, right? My people?
Yes.
Yes,
There we
and
go.
there's a group of people that are on our block, there's a lot of attorneys, surprisingly, and they all would love to look
Yeah.
at the agreement and go over it with you. They are going to take time, unbillable hours.
Okay.
Listen, excuse me.
I know.
I don't think if I'm going to accept or agree to any community written agreement, really written to say I'm going to be binding to do this when I really don't know the cost, and I'm,
Well, that's what we're gonna have, we have a couple weeks, Dr. Bacchi, that's the whole thing.
yeah, but
So,
I have really sacrificed a lot.
Okay.
If we could really come to it, I am doing what maybe other developers don't do. I've done it. I think it is your position, the people around, my building, to really support it.
Okay.
It's going to cost me, listen, I can
I hear
build
you.
these projects. I have other buildings to build. I'm putting them aside to build this building so that this place can be improved immediately, and let us not procrastinate.
Okay,
I will change my mind.
Dr. Buckeye, I am with you, we support what you're gonna do, but for the comfort listen to me, okay?
Okay.
All right, just relax. So, we love what you did, we love the parking, we love all that type of stuff, but as I got that email, when did you all send me that email, 4 days ago?
Middle
That
of
letter of intent, if we would just have that prior before the vote, you're gonna get the support, Dr. Buckeye. It's not a question of that, before, as I said, the comfort level of the community, it would be much better.
May I ask?
I will assure you all, there is an engineer. I have a problem, I have had a problem like this in a community that I work with them. I had a gas station, and I know how it works. I had a gas station that when I started to build this gas station, I had just the same feeling like you, and I saw it. But what I did, I went to engineer specialists who was really specialist, and I have the guy has been doing this for over 30 years. He comes and does the work, but they cannot really come and tell you that this is how it's going to cost. They have to go inside and do all engineering, everything that is inside there that cannot be left inside that ground, so that when the people move inside there can be an effect. They have to do a lot of studies. The soils that they take out of this, it costs a lot. It costs me a lot of money to take those soils out. They have a special place where they take them, and you have to pay for it. And they have to bring a special soil, and they put it back, and you have to pay for it.
Okay,
It's-
but Doctor,
so-
we get that, but I'm just saying, since you are coming to the BZA meeting on the 8th, we're gonna be here on the 1st again. We like the project, it's not the matter of that, but it would just be for the community residents who are gonna be for your project, who are gonna love the project, just to have a letter of intent. I don't think it's,
I think we can,
Yes.
there's time for us to put
Yeah.
down what we've proffered in writing.
correct, absolutely.
But I don't want there to be any false expectation that
Right,
the
folks?
proffer
No
would
false-
be different.
Yep,
It would just be
Understood.
in writing.
there's a question.
May I just ask a question? This is to the commission, this is to the commissioners.